Hello everyone, welcome back to yet another video of Culture Katha. But before I proceed with today's video, I just wanted to address a question that many of you have raised regarding the source of the Mahabharata references I had made in my last video, that was on Draupadi's Vastraharan. So the version that I am referring to is the English translation of the epic's critical edition in Sanskrit brought out by Bhandarkar Oriental Research Institute. The book has been translated by Mr. Bibek Debroy, who is also an economic advisor to the Government of India, and it has been published by Penguin India. And this is the one I am referring to, so you can check it out. Okay, now let's get on with this week's video. So for many Indians, Rama is Maryada Purushottam, the finest of men, an ideal son and king, and for many others, he is a godly figure. So there are two common approaches to understanding Rama, either as a man who rose to the level of a god, or as a god who came down to earth taking the form of a man. But there's also a third approach, and that is the one we're going to take for the purpose of this video. Rama as the Kavya Purush, the protagonist of the epic called Ramayana, masterfully crafted by Valmiki. In the epic, while Rama is held up for the finest virtues a man can have, there are a few episodes in his story that appear as blotches on his fine character and reduce his sheen, of which the most controversial one is Sita's Agni Pariksha. But before we sit in judgment upon Ram, it would be good to keep in mind that Ramayana was composed nearly 2300 years back. Needless to say, the epic reflects the moralities of those times that were radically different from what they are today. Also, as there are so many versions of the Ramayana today, I think it would be a good idea to review the whole episode as Valmiki, the original author of the epic, narrates it. Again, I am dipping into the critical edition of the epic brought out by Baroda Oriental Institute and translated by Bibek Debroy once again for Penguin India, and this is the one. So the episode in Valmiki Ramayana unfolds a bit like this. Ravana has been slayed and Sita is freed and brought to the battlefield, where she looks forward to joining her husband after enduring months of separation. But to Sita's utter shock and disappointment, instead of extending a warm welcome to her, Rama receives her with contempt and bursts out into an angry and harsh speech upon seeing her. In his tirade, he makes three distinct points. One, that by winning back Sita from Ravana, he had proven his manliness and eliminated the disrespect shown to him by his enemy. Two, that Sita should not assume that he had undertaken the arduous journey only to free her. On the contrary, he had done what he had only to remove the blemish caused to his lineage by her abduction. And three, that he doubted the character of the woman who had spent many a happy day in the palace of Ravana. He concludes by saying he has nothing to do with Sita anymore, and she was free to go wherever and to whomever she wished. Surprised to hear these harsh and cruel words from Rama, Sita is extremely upset and angry and breaks down. But she does not take Rama's accusations lying down. She argues back, pointing out his unjustness in judging her, much as a petty human being would do. Crying over her cruel fate, Sita then asks Lakshmana to create a funeral pyre into which she would enter. Do note the point that it is Sita who decides to take the Agni Pariksha on her own. Rama does not suggest it, although he does not stop her either. Sita then enters the pyre set up by Lakshmana, uttering the words that if she had indeed been faithful to Rama, the fire would do her no harm. At that very moment, all the gods and devatas from the heavens who had assembled there confront Rama and demand to know how he, as the Lord of the universe, could behave like a petty human. That is a moment of epiphany, a moment of revelation for Rama. He is shaken. Shocked and surprised, he tells the gods that he had always thought he was a human named Rama, who was Dasharatha's son. He then begs the gods to reveal his true identity to him. Brahma then enlightens Rama about his divine nature, about how he was an aspect of Vishnu, the savior of the universe. At this point, it's interesting to know that Rama had indeed forgotten his divine origin and needed to be reminded about it, whereas Sita seems to be totally aware of her divinity and shows enormous control over the situation. As Paula Richmond, an expert on Ramayana, points out, the Agni Pariksha turns out to be a test not so much for Sita but for Rama, who had forgotten his godly identity and needed to be reminded of it. Meanwhile, the fire god who had received Sita returns her to Rama, vouching for her purity, and commands Rama to accept her and not subject her to any more suffering. Interestingly, in Kamban's Ramavataram, which is the Tamil version of the epic, the author holds Sita's purity several notches higher over Valmiki. In the Tamil version, the fire god Agni complains to Rama that as Sita entered the pyre, she remained untouched by the leaping flames, whereas he, the fire god, was scorched by her chastity. However, there have been several subsequent versions of the Ramayana where the Agni Pariksha episode is altogether eliminated or creatively altered. Devout Vaishnavites who saw Rama as Vishnu and Sita as goddess Lakshmi found it difficult to accept that Sita was made to undergo a trial by fire. Moreover, the episode also made Rama look weak and cruel. So we find that the concept of Maya Sita emerging, wherein Rama, who is aware of his divinity and foresees the abduction of Sita, leaves the real Sita in the care of the fire god and accepts Maya Sita or shadow Sita in her place. So it is the Maya Sita and not the real Sita who is abducted by Ravana. So in these versions, the real Sita remains undefiled by the touch of the wicked Ravana. After the death of Ravana, the Agni Pariksha is set up so that the real Sita can walk out of it and replace the Maya Sita. This is the version that was popularized by Tulasidas in his Ramacharita-manas. And it was an adaptation of this version that we all saw in the televised Ramanand Saga's Ramayana in the 1980s. Coming back to the Valmiki version, the narration takes yet another surprising twist after the gods reveal Rama's sacred identity to him. Now, Rama proclaims that he had allowed Sita to take the trial by fire only because he wanted the world to be convinced of Sita's purity. He himself had no doubts at all about her character. Interestingly, this is exactly what the historic figure called Caesar had done 2000 years ago in Rome. Now, Caesar was a high priest of the Roman religion and was married to a lady named Pompeia. He had divorced his wife Pompeia because a young man had wanted to seduce her, even though his wife was clueless about the youth's intentions. He is famously known to have said that as Caesar's wife, Pompeia had to be above all suspicion. Thus, throughout the epic, we find that Rama, the Kavya Purusha, is eternally torn between his duties as king and duties towards himself and his wife. And every time a conflict arises that threatens to put the reputation of his royal legacy and lineage at risk, we find Rama sacrificing Sita's interests and thus his own too. Well, as Bibek Debroy, the translator, puts it, Valmiki Ramayana tells the story only from Rama's point of view. Over the years, several authors have chosen to retell the epic, giving voice to other characters from the epic, particularly Sita and Ravana. While these narratives may be different from Valmiki's, they nevertheless help to keep the epic relevant in the changing times. Friends, hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, do like and share. Also do subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And if you're a subscriber, please remember to press the bell icon to receive notifications about new video uploads. See you all next week with yet another interesting story. Till then, keep smiling and commenting. For now, it's tata, bye bye, take care.